Some of the best things learned from the inner city, like growing up in Southwest, Borpeo, growing up on the South Side. What are some of the things you learned that helped you in life to overcome situations? Let me know in the comments. What are some of the things that you had to overcome growing up in inner city? I know for me, I learned a lot of things. I would say some of the most important things I learned is that no matter how much you hang around people, no matter how much like you're in groups or whatever, a lot of times it all falls back to individual accountability at some point. If a group of dudes do something, they all get caught. They don't put y'all in the room together. They separate you and put you in the room by yourself. And you have to make the decision about how are you going to handle the situation that you're in. Another thing you learn about in the inner city is about patterns. Dealing with people. Everybody has a pattern. Everybody has a way of doing things. And you don't have to know a person per se, but every person has a pattern. Whether you know them or don't know them. I mean, if you just sit back and peep game or watch them, everybody has a pattern. Whether they drive the same way home when they get off work every day, or when they get off work, they go to the same gas station to get the same drink and honey bun or whatever. Every day when they get off work, everybody has a pattern. And then there are people that are random. They just randomly, because they don't like being read. They don't like nobody knowing that they have a pattern, so they just be random. Somebody like me that don't like being predicted and stuff like that. But you learn a lot of things growing up in the inner city that you wouldn't learn if you probably grew up in the suburbs or sheltered, because most people in the inner city, I'm gonna say about 70-80% probably is a single parent household. So when you're outside, you don't have both parents to kind of guide you through things. You only got one parent, and they're probably at work, and you have to learn how to make good decisions, and you have to learn how to stay out of trouble and avoid it as much as you can. I mean, you got to get to the point where you can actually foresee something like, hey, let's go over here. Nah, I don't want to go over there because I see trouble. You may not say it out loud, but in your head, you're like, nah, I'm going to avoid going over there because I'm going to try to avoid trouble because I don't want to get in trouble. Because some trouble is hard to get out of. Some is, some is not. Another thing you learn in the city is like, say, how to think ahead of what you're doing. Make those decisions, because you're not going to always have an adult available to say, is this a good decision? What you think? Sometimes you got to learn how to think for yourself in situations, because it's right then and there. And like I say, I told somebody on TikTok, one decision, one move, one word, and 1 minute can change everything about your life, about your journey, everything. So you have to be careful about how you move. Am I saying you're gonna be perfect? Nope. But what I'm saying is you can strive to be better and better every day. It's one thing when you're trying to do better, but it's another thing when you're not. And I think that you know the difference if you're not trying to do better or if you are trying to do better. But you want to try to do better. Every year you should want to be better than the last year. And I know me, I'm about to turn 41. I strive to be better every year. I don't like being complacent. I really don't like being comfortable. I've been enjoying making content, teaching myself to be consistent. It's one of the hardest things about life. Like growing up in the inner city, that's what you learn is the people who are really thrive the most of the time, whether it's good or bad, but people who thrive in either or they are consistent at what they do. I mean, it's so consistent that most people don't want to do it. Because when you choose to be consistent, you're going to have to give up something that you deem fun, or to be disciplined, you're going to have to give up something. Guess what? To move into a new level in life, you're going to have to give up something at the older level. You might can't take it with you. You always got to be willing to go to the next version of you. You can't be attached to one version of you. You got to be able to move to the next version. This is how life works. If you stay at that one version, it's like saying you want to stay at Windows Vista, and we in Windows 11 right now, but I like Windows Vista. But guess what? Windows Vista don't have the support, no security, in the same way in life. If I would have stayed at the 05 mic, however old I was at 05, and I'm 41, like, that wouldn't have computed. It wouldn't have been well for me right now. I ain't no telling what I would have been doing, but you have to be able to evolve and go to the next version of who you are in life if you want to increase your chances of success. So our next topic is understanding what it takes to be a provider. So, does becoming a provider change a person's perspective of life? And it does. One thing that when you become a provider and people are dependent on you, if you got some good sense, it will change you for the better, because you don't want to do anything to risk your freedom that jeopardizes your chance to provide for your family. So becoming a provider definitely changes your perspective of how you move in life. Like, you just don't want to argue as much. Like, what am I arguing about for what? You don't want to jeopardize your freedom over something silly. You want to do the best you can to provide for your wife and kids. You just want them to have things, and you don't mind working for it. I don't mind working for it. It teaches you how to be selfless, even if people don't even realize it. Like, to be a man and be a provider, a lot of times people may not even know what you do. I know my family, they do the best to say thank you for things, but they don't have to, because when you take the vow to be a husband and a provider, you got to provide whether they say thank you or not. You got to provide whether they like you or not. Sometimes when you tell everybody no, we can't do that, you're probably going to be the bad guy. But guess what? You still got to provide. Even when you're the villain, you still got to provide. You got to remember, when you make a wedding vow, you're making a vow to God. And for those people out there that say that you shouldn't put the kids first, I would definitely beg to differ. But it depends on the two people that's married. If you're on equal mindset, me and my wife, I love you, Ashley. Shout out to Ashley. We definitely put the kids' needs before ours. We do it all the time. A kid does not have the wherewithal or the insight to take care of themselves. They depend totally on you. So when I hear people saying that you shouldn't put the kids first, it sounds weird to me, because those are the people that will have children of the corn kind of kids, and then be wondering why I didn't know my kid. Why is he acting like that, or he or she, or whatever? Why are they acting like that? You have to, that's why it's important to understand the mindset. Even though you can't really learn it until you become a parent, but once you have a kid, your mindset, your priorities, all of that change. And if you're having a kid with a person, and they don't understand that, it'll be tension, because there are some people who will not spend their last on their kids, for their kids to have something, whether it's clothes, food, and then there's some people who will. But if you get two the opposite, where I don't think the kids should be the first priority, or I do think the kids should be the first priority, there's gonna be a tension there. But if you get two people that's on equal mindset, hey, the kids come before us, because they can't fend for themselves. They can't even work. They depend totally on us. But as a man, being a provider, your family depends on you, even when you're not liked, even when you could be the villain. So you have to move different. Whether it's on the job, you gotta move different. You gotta stay out of trouble. You don't want to lose your job. Spiritually, you gotta lead your family spiritually as well. You gotta lead them with insight and be able to teach in moments in life. Kids ask you about this, can you teach them that? It's a lot of things that come with being a provider and a husband. It's a lot. And you don't learn it all. If you can't learn it in 5 minutes, it takes time. I can tell you that from experience. And as far as perspective change, I remember when I was younger, I didn't think about school. I didn't think about any of those things. But as I started becoming older, having kids, you realize that, now you hear people say this all the time. They say it's not all about the money. But at the same time, when you start growing up, you start realizing that how much does it really cost, or how much money do you have to make to be able to pay your bills, have money left over to cover stuff like if the car break down, something break on the house, to be able to call out, service, or something like HVAC service or something like that. How much does it really take to do that? When now the average rent probably $1,000, and that's just for regular apartment. That's not even for like something nice. That's just a regular apartment till you get on your feet. But the goal as a provider, as a man, for me, this is for me. I would tell any young guy this. As a man that wants to be a provider, you want to put yourself in position to make as much money as you can in the corporate market until you can't garner that no more. But here's the trick that a lot of times you don't know in the city. If you take your career serious and plan your education and your career, you can get to a point in your career or in the corporate world that you don't have to retire. But the job that you're doing is not hard either. I've seen numerous of people working in IT, just seeing different positions because you got to service everybody. I've seen a lot of people that I saw at the top level, as they get older, you start making more money. Your value and your experience start becoming more valuable depending on the career path that you go down and how good you are with that SCCM, skill set, education, communication, mindset. They're making $100,000 a year and above, and they probably in their 50s or 60s, something like that. They're not going to retire. Why do I say that? Most of the time when people get to that level, 6 figures and above, if you retire, you won't be making the same flow of money that you're making if you get to the 6-figure level. But when you're in the inner city, you don't think that you can get to that level in the inner city because you don't really know people that's making 6 figures. If you don't understand, what position pays what, or what level you need to get to in the corporate world. Like if somebody tell you they're a provost, some people not in the city don't even know what that is. I didn't know what it was 10 years ago. I didn't know what a provost was. I don't know what a chancellor was. I didn't know what an attorney was, a prosecuting attorney, a district attorney, and stuff like that. You get to those kind of positions, you're making 6 figures. That's why you see people like Biden and these older people, they be in politics so long till they about to, drop, to the ground almost, because it's hard to turn down making money without having to put in like labor. It's labor intensive. It's more mental intensive, but not labor intensive. So just something to think about. A lot of times, it's people, like I knew guys, man, that worked till they was about 80, but they was making probably since they was 50, 150 grand or something like that. And then you work till you just can't work no more. Today, either walk you out, or you die, some people die in that position. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see a lot of those senators, man. They be older, in those positions, because access to more things, access to more opportunities, access to make more money, and they stay in those positions until they just physically can't do it no more. But you get to stay there long because it's not like working something that's like physically straining, but that you can't do it in your 60s. It's more of a mental, kind of deal. So as long as you keep your mind sharp and your body somewhat in shape, you can last a little bit longer.